Okay, welcome everybody to Dominate Your Market with the Profit Finder. I'm Brian Carmody, your host, and I am here with Stephen Buchalter from Enterprise Cleaning and Restoration Services Corporation. They're based in West Boylston, Massachusetts, but they're serving all of Massachusetts and even New Hampshire and Rhode Island. They have some accounts. Now, I'm really excited to have Stephen today because he's got a very successful company under his belt. He founded the company 20 years ago, and he is really it's been growing ever since. He's got some incredible systems in place, and I can't wait to have him share some of his lessons with you and for any aspiring business owners out there. You're going to hear some great stuff from him. And especially Stephen's, what I know of Stephen, he's very good at sharing some of the things that were challenges over the years. So I think that's going to be this is going to be a very inspiring episode for you all. So Stephen, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Brian, thank you very much for having me on. And it's an honor to be here with you. So I appreciate giving me this opportunity. If you'd like, I could kind of go back 20 years ago to the start of the company and how Enterprise came to be.
Yeah, do that, and also just work in a quick, just so we're all on the same page. What does Enterprise do in general, and then just take us from your founding story. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with what Enterprise current services that we provide. We're a janitorial service. We provide daily and nightly cleaning services for office buildings, manufacturing companies, medical companies, food companies like Pepsi, Hanover Insurance. We also provide special services such as stripping, refinishing, carpet shampooing, flood and mold removal, and electrostatic disinfecting, which became very big during the COVID years. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was saying, yeah, good. That was huge during the COVID years for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll start with the beginning, and I'll kind of tell you how everything came to be, and then please stop me at any time to ask questions.
No, let's hear it. You got it.
So I worked for a cleaning company for years. I remember growing up, I worked at age 13 cleaning offices, because cleaning offices and also as a dish boy in the restaurant were the only two jobs I could get at 13. And I remember thinking, I can't wait to graduate college to get out of the cleaning business. Lo and behold, my first company was a salesperson for a cleaning company. Worked there for 2 years and then left to work for a company in Boston called Textral. Textral specialized in high-end upholstery cleaning, carpet cleaning, and maintenance. And there we service firms like Ropes and Gray, Hale and Dorr, Nutter McClendon Fish, the Boston Stock Exchange, the Boston Red Sox. And I really learned what servicing high-end clients was all about. Very demanding. Basically you had to have a system in place, because if you didn't, they would eat you up. And sometimes the request would happen after hours, after the crew had gone home. Never forget, Vince Levin had a closing in downtown Boston, and it finished at 11 o'clock. And this will tell you how old I am, Brian. This is before cell phones. My pager went off at 11 o'clock, and it was Vince Levin's number with a 911. And we got a call saying, hey, during the closing, someone spilled wine on the carpets. And I said, oh, yeah, well, we'll get there first thing in the morning. He said, no, we need you here now. And I reached out to my crew. They had gone home. So I was living in Worcester at the time. I hopped in my car, drove to our office in Waltham, got the van and machines. And at 12:30 in the morning, I was cleaning up a wine spill in the carpet. So I worked there for 2 years. And then my previous company called me back. I went to work back for them. And at the time, the company was about $750,000 in sales. And I worked hard during the next 8 or 9 years to grow the company to $6.8 million in sales. And it was my father-in-law's company. I was going through a divorce. And I said, listen, I'm going to leave. I'm going to start my own cleaning company, but I'm not going to touch any of your accounts. And I didn't realize just how hard it was important for me to do things the right way and be honorable. But I didn't realize how hard that was going to be. Started the company and said, well, I got business with my previous company. I could do this on my own. And I would get in contact with some pretty big accounts and have an opportunity to submit a bid. And I'll never forget my first account. We really hit it off well. He got to the end of the proposal. He said, "Where's your reference page?" I said, "Well, I don't have any references, but you could be my first one." And then he closed the proposal, handed it back to me. He said, "Well, you come see us in a couple of years once you've established yourself." So money ran out quickly. I started the company in January. And by March, I was writing out cash advance checks from a credit card just to kind of stay afloat. But I believed in myself, and I also knew that that there was a need for a cleaning company. That I had kind of thoughts in my mind of how we could be unique and different. In about January of the year I started the company, I walked into a place called Commerce Associates that owned the Slater building in downtown Worcester, the Commerce building, 332 Main Street and 365 Main Street. And I said, if I can get this account, this would be a base for enterprise. Yeah. So I went in there with high hopes, and they said, "Well, we just went out to bid. You come see us in a year." But I knew that it was a big enough account that this would be what I needed to, to start the company. So I literally would drive from Concord, Mass every day, every other day, and I'd stop into Commerce Associates and say, "Oh, I was just in the area. I figured I'd stop in and say hi." And they said, "Well, come see us in a year. Everything is fine." And I would notice little things. I would say to them, 2 days ago, I was in here and I saw the same, spot in the carpet in the elevator. Your cleaning company should have brought that to your attention and should have taken care of it. And over time, developed a relationship. And the cleaning company that was in there had some misfortunes. The cleaners used the hair salon downstairs at night to cut each other's hair. Outside of an attorney's office, they used the couch for something inappropriate. I won't name what it was. And their final straw was they walked out with 14 laptops from an accountant's office. So I got a phone call, and this is after I had submitted a bid, and the bid sat, and I kept on coming back saying, "Give me a chance, give me a chance." And finally, I got that phone call, and it was on a Wednesday in May, and the call went like this: "Steve, we made a decision. We had something happen with the cleaning company. We need you to start tonight." And I said, if I could have until this weekend, because I need to hire people, I need to get equipment. And he said, "Fine, I'll give you till this weekend." And I walked out of there feeling so excited and so scared, because I had to hire 30 employees, I had to get equipment, and I was writing out cash advance checks just to stay afloat. And I said, "How am I going to pull this off?" So I had suppliers I'd been talking to, and I told them I needed 90-day terms. They all turned me down. And then one of them called back and he said, "Listen, I just talked with my boss. He's going to make an exception. We'll give you 90-day terms." I ordered the equipment, I hired the help, and I spent Saturday and Sunday, literally probably 18 hours a day working to clean these 4 office buildings with a crew of 30. And Enterprise was finally born. And we grew very rapidly. We were named the fastest growing privately held company in Central Mass by the Worcester Business Journal. And that got me a lot of exposure, and I was able to sit on a panel and talk about what I attribute the success for the fast growth. And truth be told, your employees are what get you where you are. It's not anything I do. If it wasn't for the hardworking employees, the company wouldn't be where it is today. But as we grew along the road, we made mistakes, lots and lots of mistakes. And I've learned over the years that every mistake is a learning opportunity. And sometimes it's actually better to make a mistake and learn a lesson from it, so that you can find a way for that mistake to hopefully never happen again. And if it does happen again, have a system to deal with the mistake. Case in point, even recently during the last 5 years, and especially since COVID, a lot of times cleaners don't show up to clean accounts, or they call out sick last minute. And we had some of the same issues where all of a sudden we have now 180 accounts that we clean. And at any given night, we might have a half a dozen people call out sick. Well, our old system, they'd call out sick and we'd tell the account, "We're so sorry, the cleaner called out, but we'll be there tomorrow night." And we knew that wasn't the right way to do business, but we had to come up with something so that didn't happen. So we worked with a software developer in Brazil, and we developed this custom app And we have added so many tools to this app. And the nice thing about this, because we own the app, if a client has a specific need, we can utilize the app to meet their needs. So one of the biggest problems that we were facing was not being able to manage our whole staff, because our supervisors could only go so many places every night. So the first thing we did with our app is we came up with a geofencing system where when a cleaner went into the account, they'd punch in on their app and it would geofence them in the account. And if they didn't show up, let's say they were supposed to show up at 7, at 7:15, if they didn't show up, the app would send an alert to the manager saying, hey, Joe hasn't shown up at XYZ account. And that would trigger the manager to give them a call and say, are you running late? Are you going to show up? And so that was phase one. Phase two with the app, we really wanted to have everybody have consistent training. So in addition to on-the-job training, we wanted them, before they walked into an account, to know our system. So we developed some training tools and training manuals, and we require all of our staff, before they set foot into an account, to watch the training videos. And they could be how to clean a bathroom, how to properly vacuum carpet, what's the order that things should be done. And then we've since taken that app, we clean accounts like Hanover Insurance. Hanover Insurance has a system where they rate the cleaning. And so we came up with a tool on the app where Hanover can do their rating, and section by section, they rate on a scale of 0 to 100 how we did with the cleaning. And then our supervisor also has the app. They rate the same sections and they give their rating, and then it blends the rating to give an overall score for us. And that allows us to take a look and see what sections of the building we may be falling short and what sections of the building we're doing well, and allows us to say, okay, in section B of building 2, we need to work on training that cleaner a little better and monitor that cleaner a little better. So the other thing that we've done as a result of people not showing up for work is we developed, I call it my most cost-effective, costly system in the cleaning business. What I realized is we were getting a lot of calls from companies saying, hey, my cleaning company on any given day, they don't show up. And I get a call from the tenant saying, look, the trash is full. I have clients coming in and, this can't happen. And after it happening several times, they would go out to bid. And we had the same problems, truth be told, years ago, where our cleaners wouldn't show up. So we developed this roving van crew, and the van crew we hired initially as supervisors. So they would go out and they would do inspections in different buildings and retrain the cleaners that needed some retraining. But then we developed them into a fill-in crew. So we clean about 35 locations for adult and pediatric dermatology, and they're in New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. And usually one cleaner reports to the building to do the cleaning. And if a cleaner doesn't show up that night, or if they call out sick, that van crew then will go service that account, so we don't have any disruption in the service. And that has been a huge win for us, because past couple of years, we haven't lost any accounts due to poor service. We've had a few accounts we've lost because they needed to cut budget. And some of the tools that we have in place to maintain the consistency in cleaning, they're costly to do that. We're paying the van crew from when they come into the office. We're paying the mileage for the van, all the gas, and we're paying them, to drive out to the accounts. But the reward is we get consistency in service, and we don't get those phone calls that, hey, nobody showed up last night. Every now and then, I was telling you earlier, Brian, when I was selling for Enterprise, that the first words out of my mouth were, I can only guarantee one thing. I guarantee if you hire us, we're going to make mistakes. We are not perfect, but it's how we resolve those mistakes that truly sets us aside. And I tell my management staff, think of it like this. If a client takes the time to send you an email or pick up the phone and call you, think of it like open heart surgery. It's counting the seconds before you respond to them, either by email, by phone, or in person. And you could take somebody that has an issue that may be big to them, and you face them, you see what the issue is, And then more importantly, you come up with a plan to resolve the issue. If it's, a trash can didn't get emptied, you go there, you empty the trash can. But more importantly, then you go back at night and ask the cleaner, what happened here? Why didn't you empty this trash can? Or what, where did we fall short training you? And so we try to build up a relationship where the clients, and one of our clients is Workers Credit Union. Workers Credit Union hasn't put us out to bid in probably 12 years. And not that I ever want to go out to bid, but I asked him, I said, how come you don't put our service out to bid? He said, I put every service out to bid, landscaping, HVAC, electrical, but not the cleaning. And I said, why? He said, you're the only company that when you make a mistake, I know I can count on a supervisor being here, and I know that mistake will get resolved. And he said, I don't have that same comfort with other companies. Sometimes it's a week or two before they get back to me. So what we try to do is capture some of the important things to our customers and try to find a way to over-service our customers. One thing that we started doing in the past year is, I'll never forget, I lost an account probably 5 years ago. And the reason I lost that account, we were doing a great job with the cleaning, but their floors needed to be stripped and refinished. And I got a phone call saying, oh, I've decided to go elsewhere. And I said, can I ask why? I thought you were happy with the cleaning. And they said, we were, but another company came in and they said, our floors need to be stripped and refinished. And they did a little demo. And I didn't realize how badly they needed to be stripped and refinished. And I said, oh, well, we can do that. And they said, well, you should have brought that to our attention. So I said, shame on us, that's another learning lesson. So one thing now that we have is we have our supervisors, when they inspect all of our accounts at least once a month, some accounts once a week, some accounts bi-weekly. And while they're doing their inspections on the app, if they see carpets that need to be shampooed or bathrooms that need to be steam cleaned or floors that need to be stripped and refinished, they take a picture of it, they upload it to the app. And then our director of operations then sends an email to the client saying, your floors are due to be, shampooed. And now what we're doing is taking a picture every time we service an account of what they look like before and what they look like after. And we send that picture in an email the following day saying, thanks, for having us in. This is what your floors look like before we came in, and this is what they look like after. And we're also using that tool a year later to say, hey, your floors look like this the last time we were done. Now they are in need of service. This is what they look like. Would you like us to give you a quote to do your floors? So that was the cleaning end of things. The restoration piece kind of happened not by mistake, but it was one of those light bulb moments. We would always get a phone call if there was a flood in a building. We were the first ones that got the phone call, and we'd gather up a crew. We'd send in the crew, and they'd say, "Oh, thank you very much. Now Service Master or Serve Pro is going to take it over from here." And I'll never forget, we had a large office building downtown. We got a phone call at 5:30. How quickly can you get a crew here? We literally had a crew there in 5 minutes because we had people working in the space. And he said, I just need you here for a couple hours until Serve Pro comes. And then I said, well, what if we could do what Serve Pro does? Mm-hmm. He said, can you do that? I said, sure. So, not knowing exactly how we were going to pull it off, I went to Depot and Lowe's, and we bought every air circulator, dehumidifier. And first thing the next morning, I went up to a company called John Don. John Don sells commercial dehumidifiers, commercial air circulators. And myself and my operations staff took a crash course on how to remove the humidity. And we bought a moisture reader. And then we added that aspect to things. That flood job went extremely well. The client was very happy. And he said, boy, you educated me every step of the way. I didn't just walk in here and see my walls missing. You told me exactly what was going on. And that's, I think, one thing that we pride ourselves in is the communication that we have with our clients. And in the event, God forbid, somebody has a flood, it's a tragic circumstance. The place floods out and there's a lot of stress involved. And the worst thing you could do is go in there and start ripping apart walls and not explain why you're doing that. So we have since taken a different approach to the industry, and we'll sit and we'll educate the client. here, we're going to be coming in every day. We're going to be doing moisture readings, and we like to see the moisture drop down to this level. If by the third day it hasn't dropped down to this level, we are going to need to cut the baseboards and put air circulators just to move that air out, and dehumidifiers. And we step them through the process so that there's no surprises. So I think that's kind of another thing that has separated ourselves from the pack. And by having a cleaning staff, we have over 150 employees. We're able to rely on that staff. So if all of a sudden a flood happens at 11 o'clock at night, we have a call list that we can go through and say, okay, John, Bill, are you interested in making double time to come to this, this place? I remember March, I believe it was March or April of this year, we had that deep freeze. And typically I don't get phone calls from clients unless something is really bad. And 7:30 in the morning, my phone rang. Steve, we need your help. It was the owner of a building that Cosmetics operates in. Yeah. And he said, I have 6 inches of water in my warehouse, a sprinkler pipe burst. I need a crew here right away. Fortunately for us, Cosmetics happens to be located right next to our office. So within a half an hour, we had a crew extracting water. Well, that weekend, we received 12 phone calls from different clients and other people that had the same thing. They had pipes that burst. So we went out, we bought more equipment, and we were able to service 9 of those 12 clients. The other 3, we just didn't have the equipment or the manpower. So we referred them to other companies. We have a partnership with Paul Davis Restoration. And when we have jobs that are too big, we'll bring them in to help try to finish the job. So that's an area of the business that is really growing. And I think it's because of our approach and educating the client and explaining every step of the way what we're doing so that they feel comfortable and they know exactly what to expect. We have grown very rapidly, and we continue to grow. This year, we'll probably hit about 5.3 million in sales. And we grew through a mix of nightly and daily cleaning, special project work, which is the shampooing and stripping, refinishing of floors, steam cleaning of bathrooms, and also the flood and remediation part of the business. So we really try to, and we also provide painting services as well. So if we're in a client and we notice that a wall isn't coming clean because it needs to be painted, we have the ability to bring in, we've worked with a subcontractor for the last 16 years, and our pricing tends to be less than the competition. And it's dealing with one company versus having to call a separate, painting company. We've really tried to enlarge the amount of services that we can offer a client to make it easier for them not to have to run around and get a separate carpet shampooer, a separate cleaner, a separate painter. And the team that we have is incredible. Probably the best team I've had in 20 years. One thing I recognize as an owner is that people are not motivated. They're motivated by money, but they need to feel important, and they need to feel that sense of the company caring. And like I said, without our employees, we wouldn't be in business. So we started doing parties with the management staff. And this quick side story: this summer, we did a party at the office. We had a cookout. So we brought in like Brazilian steaks and rice and beans, and we had music. We rented a bunch of tables. We had about 45 people there, and we got cornhole and also the big parking lot version of Connect 4. And it was amazing to me how many people had never played cornhole and never played Connect 4. So we made it fun for everybody. We introduced them to the games. They played in the parking lot. And then we had a contest, and we drew 3 lines for Connect 4. One of them was maybe 15 feet back. We had a piece of tape. The next one, 25 feet back, and the next one about 35 feet back. And if you got it in from the 15-foot one, you got $25. If you got it in for the next one, it was $50. And if you got it in from the far one, you got $100. So people would always go up to the front line and throw it in, or try to throw it in. And if someone got it in, everybody would cheer. Well, one of our employees brought their spouse, and he right away went to the last line, and everybody's looking, saying, "Are you crazy? You're going to take your first shot from the last line?" Sure enough, each person got 3 bean bags. He got all 3 and won $300 in about 30 seconds. And everyone said, oh, he must have been like a cornhole ringer that we
Yeah,
didn't know
ringer.
about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and we did the same thing last winter, and at the end of the day, everybody gets to know each other a little bit more, and there's a bonding that happens. And the end of the day, that we had a treasure hunt, and it was think enterprise and think cash. So we had like $100 bills hidden in the enterprise van gas tank, or under the windshield wiper, or in between the door, in the signs in the office. So everybody ran around, searching for the money. They, came back with the money, and everybody just left on such a high note. So I think, in addition to, to working, it's important to realize that people need to bond with each other and need to feel that sense of importance, because if it wasn't for feeling good about what they do, they wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And so we're knock on wood, we're very fortunate to have a good staff.
That's incredible, Stephen. And look, I'll just say as well, I was on your company Facebook page, and I saw not one, but several pictures of your staff, just like I'm trying to describe this for people who are listening, but they were in like a circle or semicircle, with all of them had their arms over each other's shoulders. And and like I said, there were multiple pictures like that, and they weren't necessarily posing. It was, you could see the genuineness on their face, that they truly have bonded, to put it in your words. And you can see it, and that's fantastic. Stephen, you just gave us so many incredible lessons. Do you mind if I take a second, just kind of tweak out some of the things that I heard you say? That great.
Absolutely.
So folks, Stephen actually had, he told you in stories, multiple different strategies that he implemented. First off, I want to let everybody know, if you missed it, please rewind back and hear what he went through to get his first client, and the pushback and challenge that was, compared to where he is now with 150 cleaners, and can respond even if people can't make it for a night. Now he's got multiple people that can fill in. But one of the first notes I took down is that he got the business. Stephen went and got the business, then he built out the company. And I see too many business owners and entrepreneurs do it the opposite way. They think they have to have everything nailed down and fully built out before they start going and talking to people and trying to get clients and customers. And that's one of the major reasons why most businesses don't make it. They're spending so much money on all these things that don't matter yet. I won't say they don't matter, but they don't matter yet. Do it the way Stephen did it, everybody. Go get somebody to say yes to you, and then go figure it out, because you won't have to look very far to figure it out. Nobody is doing anything brand new under the sun today. So there are resources around, no matter what it is, that you'll be able to find it, especially if you've got that motivation, like, oh my gosh, somebody wants to buy from me, whatever that service is, right? You will figure it out within probably just a couple of days. And that's not to take anything away from the incredible feat that Stephen did pull off, which, look, I'm not minimizing that. You had to go and hire 30 people in a few days. That's a big deal. And I'm not saying it was easy. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to encourage people to know that he did it the right way, folks. He went and got the business first, then he went and built his company. So,
and Brian,
yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Going to add to your point,
Yeah.
a lot of, I found even myself, it's really tough to take that first step and have the confidence in yourself to do it. And you will feel over your head, you'll feel overwhelmed, but if you keep in the back of your mind that you're going to do it, and I don't care who you are, you'll figure it out. And the best and most rewarding feeling is to have figured out these situations, learned from them, and built a better business as a result of making some of those mistakes along the way. I think if we hadn't made mistakes, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have some of the systems in place that we have. And it's because but more importantly, when you make a mistake, take a step back and say, how can we prevent this from happening again? And if it does happen, what are we going to do to make it right?
Right.
But if you don't take that first leap, you're never going to take it.
Take action. That's the thing. You got to take action. And speaking of mistakes and stepping back and fixing them from a systemic point of view, do what Stephen did and turn a mistake into a system, because a successful business is just a collection of systems. And that's one of the things that you heard Stephen talk about for the last 20 minutes or so was the fact that, when mistakes happened, he figured out the process, what was the root cause, and he created systems to minimize that from happening again. Bang, there you go. There's a system. Let's move on. And then he just kept doing it over 20 years. That's great. You renegotiating terms from your vendors and suppliers, that was a huge one too. You don't have to always just take no. And even if you do take no from somebody, you can find, keep reaching out until you find somebody that's willing to say yes to you. I also love in the original story where you said when you got that first big client, what you did is you stayed in touch even with them, even though you heard no. They said no to you. And boy, is it common for a business owner or even a salesperson that works for a business owner to just say, okay, they said no, they're, done deal. I got to move on and go find somebody else. No, you realized how important and how incredible it would be for that company to become a client of yours one day. So you kept staying in touch. Today, we would do that. Like you guys, you were doing it back then with, literally getting in your car and showing up in person. Now there are things like, email drip campaigns that people can do. That's another, very common and not common, but it's a legitimate way to keep in business with people, keep in touch with people that have said no. And what they may really mean is not right now, So I love that story too. You also, you really started to define your market dominating position, which is by creating that app. I mean, I would venture to guess most, cleaning companies don't have their own proprietary app. And you created one where you could tell your customers, look, we've figured out how to eliminate no-shows, right? And here's how we do it. We've got our own internal app, and we can geofence and find out who's where and who isn't where they're supposed to be. And we've got a roving van crew that can show up and either supervise or pitch in for people who can't get there and have to call in sick at the last minute. The training videos that are there to make sure everybody's ready as they walk into a project. And then I love the client ratings on the app. I mean, that's beautiful. And that's, again, it's not enough to just say, and I'm not saying you did this, but you didn't just go out and say, hey, it's all about the software. We've got an app. And, but I'm sure you told like Hanover the story of, look at what you can do with this app. The next day when you come in, after we've been there the night before, you can tell us how good we did. And then we can say, okay, and that gives you a chance to, if there was perhaps a bad night, for example, they don't have to end the relationship with you. They can just be like, okay, guys, you missed the mark last night. And then you and the supervisors are getting that as well. And you can take action. And you're telling this story to the Hanover Insurances of the world so that you can say, look, if there's a bad night, we got your back. Here's how we do it. Here's how we make sure that that doesn't happen a second time. That's awesome. And again, that's really the point of this whole podcast, is to uncover things like that, because now you've made it truly a market dominating position where there's just, the bar is too high for, some other cleaning company to start up. And, are they going to really figure out how to create their own app and what goes into it and how to do that and the expense of doing that? It's like, no, you've got this kind of locked up. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Another strategy I teach that I use big time in my own manufacturing company was the joint venture strategy. And I love how you did that with the Paul Davis and the painting company and stuff like that. That's a great chance to expand your service reach, serve the customer better. And also, there's, I'm sure, some profitability that comes from that too, by sharing, bringing other companies into to a job, and introducing them to a client. So you benefit that way as well. You got multiple services. So that's a great opportunity. That's fertile field for you guys to do cross-selling opportunities. And speaking of cross-selling, I love the story that you told about how how you lost that client who told you, well, I didn't know you did floor stripping service. You should have told us that. Look, everybody, I'm talking to the listeners now. I want everybody to realize that if you're a little gun shy about selling to people, quote unquote selling, please know this. Our customers, this goes for all of us, me, Stephen, and you, all of our customers, they're counting on us to tell them how we can make their lives better. They're counting on us for that. And if you have that mindset when you go into a selling situation, right, it doesn't become this like slimy, pushy thing. You're not doing it. Like you owe it to them, and they need you to tell them how you can help them. And if you don't, then look, even in this case, this story that Stephen told us, Stephen obviously lost out on that one opportunity there because the client said, well, we already hired somebody because we didn't know you did that. And the client really kind of lost out because they had to take the time to go and interview other companies to find that service. That probably took them some time. And it could have been a very simple email or phone call to Stephen and say, hey, we need our floor stripped. Can you do that? How much easier that would have been for everybody involved. It would have been a win-win.
And to your point, Brian, I think a lot of people have a negative stigma of, well, I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to sell, and I don't look at it as being pushy. We're educating the customer on things that would better them, and not in a pushy way. We're just saying, these are some of the services we offer, and by recognizing when they're in need of those services and saying, look, we see a problem, and this is how we could fix that problem. We offer floor strip and refinishing because your floors have yellowed over time. You're actually providing them a benefit. And so if people get out of their mind that, oh, I'm going to be selling, I'm not a salesperson, you're not selling, you're helping a client, protect the appearance of their building. One other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot, the one thing that we've also done that is very unique in the industry. We put a lot of money into advertising, and I had other friends of mine that have cleaning businesses and other businesses, and they all told me I was crazy. They said, why would you spend any money? How much money are you going to get back from that TV commercial? How much money are you going to get back? And I didn't do it to get money back right away. I did it to brand that company so that Enterprise became more or less a household name in Central Mass, that if a business owner was having problems with their cleaner, and hopefully Enterprise would come to top of mind. So we spent money advertising on TV. We did a TV commercial with former Patriots quarterback Steve Grogan. We also did one with Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler on the power of Enterprise cleaning. And we did some other fun commercials with our office staff. We did radio. We still do radio on WXLO and 100.1 The Pike and the country station. We do a lot of print with the Worcester Business Journal, but instead of doing a little ad inside, we try to get a big cover ad to stand out from other, particular people advertising. And that one of the funniest, most effective ads was bathroom ads. We used to have in front of a stall, if someone was using the bathroom, they'd have 42 seconds to read our ad. And I always tell when we get a phone call saying, oh, I'm looking to have you bid our account. And I'd say, well, where'd you hear about us? Well, I was in the bathroom at this restaurant or this gym. But just trying to think of ways to be different than your competition is important too. Like what sets you aside. And in this case, I figured advertising would not only help brand the company, but it also sets us aside from some of the other cleaning companies out there. And it's something that, people say, well, you should keep that money for yourself instead of putting it into the company. Advertising, it doesn't get you business. But over time, it gets you more than business. It gets you that name recognition. And even our existing clients that hear, the commercial on the way into work, it reconfirms that they've made that right choice in keeping us, that we're not a company that's going to disappear overnight, that we're here for the long haul. So I wanted to add that because I thought that was important as well.
Love it. Love it. Well, look, Stephen, this was a episode full of value bombs. Thank you. The wisdom that you gave us was incredible. The lessons, folks, if you own a business or you have some space or you just absolutely need to check out Enterprise Cleaning and Restoration Corporation. They've got a number of services that I'll say big services and small services, so check it all out. There might be something there. I'm going to put his contact information into the episode show notes. But Stephen, what's probably the easiest way for people to find you and get in touch with you guys if they want to talk to you about working with you?
Thank you. If they want to email us, they can email us at enterprisecleaningcorp.com. That's enterprisecleaningcorp.com. Or a phone call to 508-890-1000, 508-890-1000. And we try to make it as easy as possible. We respond quick to phone calls and emails. We are a 24/7 company. So if there's an emergency that comes in over the weekend, we do have a system where pages, texts go out to managers on duty and backup managers. So feel free to reach out, and again, thank you so much for having me on, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. What a fun conversation. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Brian Carmody, the Profit Finder, your profit strategy firm, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye now.